There are some people in life you never have to invite into your heart because somehow, without permission, without warning, they already live there, and that is what makes heartbreak so powerful. It is not the loss of a person that destroys you. It is the loss of the future you imagined with them. It is waking up one morning and realizing the voice that once gave you peace now gives you silence. It is realizing the person who once understood your soul now walks past your pain like they never knew your name. Some of you are carrying invisible heartbreak right now. You smile in public but cry in private. You answer messages but ignore your own emotions. You tell people you are okay because explaining the pain would take too many words. But hear this carefully. Sometimes God will remove people from your life because they were becoming more important than your purpose. And that pain you feel, it is not there to destroy you. It is there to wake you up. Because when someone becomes your entire world, you slowly stop becoming yourself. You start depending on their attention for happiness. Their messages become your peace. Their presence becomes your identity. And the dangerous thing about emotional attachment is this: when they leave, you feel like your value left with them. But your value was never created by human hands. No person has the power to define your worth. No rejection has the authority to cancel your destiny. No goodbye can erase what God already wrote about your life. Some relationships were lessons disguised as forever. Read that again in your spirit. Some people came into your life not to stay, but to prepare you, to teach you discernment, to teach you emotional strength, to teach you that love without peace is not love at all. Because real love does not constantly break your spirit. Real love does not make you beg for consistency. Real love does not leave you confused every night. The reason many people suffer longer than necessary is because they keep romanticizing what hurt them.
You revisit old conversations, you hold on to old promises made by people who changed.
But you cannot heal in the same place that broke you emotionally.
At some point, you must stop asking, why did they leave? And start asking, what is this pain trying to teach me? Because pain is a teacher. Pain reveals who truly loves. Pain reveals your emotional addictions. Pain reveals the areas where you forgot your own worth. And sometimes heartbreak is heaven's way of saving you from a future you were never meant to enter. You may not understand it now, but one day you will thank God for the doors that closed. One day you will realize that losing them helped you find yourself. You will discover strength you never knew existed. You will pray with deeper faith. You will walk with greater wisdom. You will stop settling for temporary affection and start protecting your peace like your life depends on it. Because it does. Listen carefully. You do not need to chase people to prove your value. You do not need to beg for love that should come naturally. And you do not need to destroy yourself trying to keep someone who already decided to leave. Let them go, not with hate, not with revenge, but with maturity. Release them and reclaim your soul. Some of you have spent years trying to reopen doors God intentionally closed. And every time you force those doors open, your peace disappears. Stop forcing what no longer fits your destiny. The right people will never require you to abandon yourself just to keep them. And yes, heartbreak hurts. It hurts deeply. But do not allow temporary pain to create permanent hopelessness. This chapter is not your ending. You are still growing, still healing, still becoming. And maybe the reason your heart was broken is because God needed to remove the illusion before revealing your true purpose. You thought they were your future, but perhaps they were only a chapter in your preparation. So dry your tears, lift your head again. Your story is not over because one person walked away. Your purpose is still alive. Your calling is still valid. Your future is still waiting. And one day, when you finally heal, you will realize something powerful. They were inside your heart, but they were never supposed to replace the love, peace, and identity you were meant to build within yourself first. That is when your pain will become power. That is when your heartbreak will become wisdom. And that is when you will finally understand. Some losses are not punishments. They are divine redirections toward the person you were always meant to become. Some people enter your life so deeply that it feels impossible to remember who you were before them. They become part of your daily thoughts, your prayers, your routines, your future plans, and even your silence. You do not simply care about them, you carry them within you. That is why certain connections feel different from ordinary relationships. They are not built only on conversations or time spent together. They are built on emotional presence. Even when that person is far away, their influence remains close. Their words echo in your mind, their memories stay alive in your heart, and their absence can still affect your emotions as if they never truly left. Real connection goes beyond physical presence. Some people can sit beside you every day and still never touch your soul, while others leave fingerprints on your spirit after only a short season. That is because genuine love is not measured by proximity. It is measured by impact. A person who truly touches your heart changes the way you see life, love, trust, and even yourself. They inspire emotions that cannot easily be explained. Their happiness becomes important to you. Their pain hurts you. Their voice brings comfort during difficult moments. Without realizing it, they become emotionally connected to the deepest parts of you. In our identity, this is why heartbreak can feel so overwhelming. You are not grieving a stranger. You are grieving someone who became emotionally attached to your inner world. Losing them feels like losing a piece of yourself because you allowed them into places within your heart that very few people ever reached. Their absence creates emotional silence where connection once existed. Simple things begin to remind you of them. A song, a place, a memory, or even a certain time of day. That connection remains alive because meaningful love leaves permanent marks on the soul. But there is an important truth many people forget. Just because someone once lived deeply in your heart does not mean your life loses meaning without them. Love can leave memories behind, but your identity must never disappear with another person's departure. The connection may have been real, the emotions may have been sincere, and the pain may still feel heavy, but your purpose still exists beyond the relationship. Sometimes people are meant to teach you how deeply you can feel, how genuinely you can love, and how powerfully your heart can connect before life calls you into a new season of growth, healing, and self-discovery. The deepest pain in life does not usually come from enemies, strangers, or people who never cared about you. Real pain comes from those who once made you feel safe. It comes from the people who knew your weaknesses, understood your silence, listened to your dreams, and still somehow became the source of your heartbreak. That is why emotional pain feels heavier than physical pain sometimes. Wounds on the body heal with time, but wounds in the heart can stay alive for years because they are connected to memories, trust, and emotional attachment. When you truly connect with someone, you lower your emotional defenses. You allow them to see parts of yourself the world never sees. You trust them with your fears, your insecurities, your hopes, and your vulnerable moments. In many ways, love is an act of emotional surrender. You give someone access to your inner world, believing they will protect it carefully. But when that connection breaks, it feels as if the very place that once gave you peace has now become the source of your suffering. This is why heartbreak can change people so deeply. A person who once smiled freely suddenly becomes quiet. Someone who trusted easily because almost guarded. Someone who believed in forever begins doubting every promise they hear. Pain has a way of reshaping the heart when it is not healed properly. Many people carry invisible emotional scars from relationships that ended long ago. Outwardly they move on, but inwardly they still struggle with disappointment, unanswered questions, and emotional emptiness. One of the hardest experiences is watching someone slowly become emotionally distant while you still care deeply. Their energy changes, their effort disappears, their words lose warmth. You feel the connection fading, yet part of you keeps hoping things will return to how they once were. That silent emotional separation can hurt more than the final goodbye because you are grieving the loss while the person is still physically present. But pain also reveals the depth of your humanity. It proves that your heart was capable of loving sincerely. People who never care deeply rarely hurt deeply. The pain exists because the connection mattered. The memories mattered. The emotions were real. However, heartbreak should never convince you that love itself is dangerous. It should teach you wisdom, emotional maturity, and self-respect. In counting, some people enter your life to stay, while others enter your life to teach lessons your comfort zone never could. Even painful connections can shape your character, strengthen your spirit, and prepare you for healthier love in the future. One of the most dangerous things that can happen in a relationship is slowly losing your sense of self without realizing it. It does not happen all at once. It happens little by little through emotional dependence, constant attachment, and the quiet habit of placing another person at the center of your happiness. At first, it feels harmless because love naturally creates closeness. You think about them often, you care about their opinions, and you want to spend time with them. But over time, if you are not careful, their presence begins to control your emotional state. Their attention determines your mood. Their approval shapes your confidence. Their absence creates anxiety. Without noticing it, your identity slowly becomes connected to someone else's validation. Many people stop recognizing themselves after heartbreak because they built their entire emotional world around one person. They abandoned their own goals, ignored their own growth, and sacrificed their peace just to maintain a connection. They became so focused on keeping someone else happy that they forgot to ask themselves an important question. Who am I outside of this relationship? That question becomes painful when the relationship ends because now they are not only grieving the person, they are also searching for the version of themselves they lost along the way. Emotional attachment becomes unhealthy when you begin believing you cannot function without someone. You start fearing abandonment constantly. Small changes in behavior make you panic. Delayed replies create insecurity. Distance feels unbearable. Instead of living with emotional stability, you begin living in emotional survival mode. This kind of attachment drains your confidence because your peace no longer comes from within. It depends on another human being whose feelings, actions, and decisions you cannot fully control. Sometimes people remain in unhealthy relationships not because they are loved properly, but because they no longer know how to exist alone. They mistake emotional dependency for love. They tolerate disrespect because they fear loneliness more than pain. They keep chasing temporary affection while slowly neglecting their own mental and spiritual well-being. The relationship becomes less about genuine connection and more about emotional addiction. Healthy love should never erase your individuality. The right connection should strengthen your identity, not destroy it. Love should inspire growth, purpose, confidence, and peace. It should not make you feel emotionally unstable every day. A strong relationship allows two complete individuals to grow together without losing themselves in the process. Your dreams, values, purpose, and self-worth should continue to exist whether someone stays in your life or leaves it. Because the moment your identity depends completely on another person, heartbreak no longer feels like losing someone you loved. It begins to feel like losing yourself. Healing does not begin the moment someone apologizes, returns, or suddenly understands your pain. Real healing begins the moment you accept reality instead of fighting it. Many people remain emotionally trapped for years because they spend more time resisting the truth than embracing it. They replay old memories, imagine different endings, and hold on to false hope long after tea. The relationship has already changed. Acceptance is painful because it forces you to stop living in fantasy and face what is actually happening, but it is also the first step toward emotional freedom. One of the hardest truths to accept is that not everyone who once loved you is meant to stay forever. Some people are seasonal. They enter your life for a period of growth, learning, or emotional transformation, and then they leave. That does not always mean the connection was fake. Sometimes it simply means the purpose of that relationship has ended. But many people keep suffering because they continue chasing what God, life, or circumstances have already removed. Acceptance does not mean pretending the pain does not exist. It means acknowledging the hurt without allowing it to control your entire future. It means understanding that heartbreak happened, disappointment happened, betrayal happened, but your life still has value beyond those experiences. Many people delay their healing because they wait for closure from someone who may never provide it. They want explanations, accountability, or emotional understanding before they allow themselves to move forward. But healing cannot depend on another person's actions. Sometimes closure comes from deciding you deserve peace more than prolonged suffering. Growth begins when you stop asking, "Why did this happen to me?" and start asking, "What can this experience teach me?" Pain has a way of revealing truths we often ignore during comfort. It exposes emotional weaknesses, unhealthy attachments, misplaced priorities, and areas where self-worth was lacking. Difficult experiences can become powerful teachers if you are willing to learn instead of remaining trapped in bitterness. Acceptance also requires releasing unrealistic expectations. Not every relationship will end beautifully. Not every apology will arrive. Not every wound will receive immediate understanding. Some chapters close without the ending you hoped for. Yet life continues moving forward, and so must you. Healing requires emotional honesty. You must admit when something is hurting you, when someone is no longer good for your peace, or when holding on is damaging your growth. The moment you fully accept reality, your energy begins to change. You stop chasing people who no longer choose you. You stop forcing conversations that feel empty. You stop begging for the bare minimum. Instead, you begin rebuilding yourself emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. Acceptance is not weakness. It is strength. It is the decision to stop drowning in denial and finally choose your own healing peace and future over the pain of what could not be changed. Many people question God most during seasons of heartbreak. They ask why the relationship failed, why the betrayal happened, or why someone they loved deeply was removed from their life. In moments of emotional pain, it can feel as though life is unfair and suffering has no purpose. But some of the greatest spiritual growth begins during the moments that break you emotionally. Pain has a way of stripping away distractions and forcing you to confront the deeper parts of your soul. When everything comfortable disappears, you begin searching for meaning beyond temporary happiness. Heartbreak often becomes the moment people rediscover themselves spiritually. During comfortable seasons, many individuals become emotionally attached to people, routines, and worldly desires without realizing how dependent they have become. They place their identity, peace, and emotional stability into human hands. But when those relationships collapse, they suddenly recognize how fragile human dependence can be. What they believed would last forever disappears, and they are left standing face to face with their own emptiness. That moment, although painful, can become the beginning of spiritual awakening. Sometimes God allows certain relationships to end because they were distracting you from your purpose. Not every connection that feels good is meant for your destiny. Some people enter your life to teach lessons, reveal weaknesses, or redirect your path. What feels like rejection in one season may actually be protection for your future. There are moments when losing someone saves you from losing yourself completely. Pain also teaches humility and emotional wisdom. A broken heart often softens people in ways success never could. It teaches compassion for others who are suffering. It teaches patience during uncertainty. It teaches emotional endurance when life becomes difficult. Many of the strongest people carry hidden stories of heartbreak, disappointment, and silent battles that transform their character. Struggle shapes maturity. Suffering develops inner strength that comfort alone cannot create. There are lessons you only learn when life humbles you emotionally. You begin understanding that people can change unexpectedly, that temporary happiness cannot replace inner peace, and that your foundation must be built on something deeper than human validation. Through heartbreak, many people discover faith on a level they never knew before. Prayer becomes more sincere. Reflection becomes deeper. The soul becomes more aware of what truly matters. This does not mean pain feels enjoyable or easy. Heartbreak can leave nights filled with tears, confusion, and emotional exhaustion. But even in suffering, purpose can exist. Some wounds become the reason people discover their calling, strengthen their faith, or develop the wisdom needed to help others. The very experience that once felt like destruction can eventually become the reason you grow into a stronger, wiser, and more spiritually grounded version of yourself. Sometimes the breaking is not the end of you. Sometimes it is the beginning of who you were meant to become all along. One of the biggest mistakes people make after rejection is allowing another person's decision to determine their self-worth. When someone walks away, stops choosing you, or fails to recognize your value, it is easy to begin questioning yourself. You wonder if you were not attractive enough, good enough, intelligent enough, or worthy enough to be loved properly. Rejection has a way of attacking the mind because it creates emotional insecurity, but another person's inability to appreciate you should never become evidence that you are unworthy. Your value does not decrease because someone failed to see it. A diamond remains valuable even if someone mistakes it for a stone. In the same way, your worth remains intact regardless of who stayed, who left, or who failed to recognize your importance. Many people spend years chasing validation from individuals who are emotionally unavailable, inconsistent, or incapable of giving healthy love. They keep trying harder, sacrificing more, and ignoring their own pain in hopes of finally being chosen. But constantly proving your worth to someone else becomes emotionally exhausting because real value does not need to beg for recognition. People often confuse rejection with personal failure. In reality, many relationships end not because someone lacked value, but because the connection was unhealthy, incompatible, or simply not meant to last. Sometimes two people care about each other but still cannot grow together peacefully. Sometimes people leave because of their own emotional immaturity, fears, or unresolved struggles. Their departure reflects their choices, not your lack of worth. The danger begins when rejection becomes part of your identity. You stop seeing yourself through truth and start seeing yourself through pain. Compliments feel meaningless. Confidence disappears. You compare yourself constantly to others. You become afraid of abandonment and overly dependent on external approval. This emotional state can lead people into unhealthy relationships because they become desperate to feel chosen again, even at the cost of their dignity and peace. True self-worth comes from understanding who you are beyond relationships. It is knowing your value even during lonely seasons. It is respecting yourself enough to walk away from situations that continuously damage your spirit. Confidence is not arrogance. It is the quiet understanding that your existence has meaning whether someone stays in your life or not. The strongest people are not those who never existed. Experience rejection, they are the ones who refuse to let rejection destroy their identity. They grieve, they heal, and they continue growing without surrendering their self-respect. When your worth is rooted in purpose, character, and inner peace, rejection may hurt your heart temporarily, but it will never have the power to define your future. No goodbye should make you forget the value already placed within you by God, life, and your own existence. In the end, some people enter our lives so deeply that even after they leave, their memories remain inside our hearts. But heartbreak is not meant to destroy your future. It is meant to strengthen your spirit, awaken your purpose, and remind you that your worth was never dependent on another person's presence. Every pain carries a lesson, every loss carries wisdom, and every broken season carries the possibility of becoming stronger than before. So never allow rejection to make you forget who you are. Keep growing, keep healing, and keep trusting that what is meant for you will never require you to lose yourself to keep it. Thank you all for listening with your hearts and spirits. I hope these words remind you that even through pain, though, here is purpose, growth, and hope waiting ahead. May you leave stronger, wiser, and more confident in the value that already exists within you. Thank you, and may peace and strength guide your journey forward.